Today, WWE announced the first entrant into this year's Hall of Fame class. It is going to be Paul Heyman going in Philadelphia. Makes logical sense from a geographic perspective. And it also is kind of a different it's a different setup now for the Hall of Fame where you piggyback off of SmackDown. This event is already sold out. It's not like in the past where, you needed, a certain headliner that was going to sell all these tickets for a major arena. I mean, they do have this ability now that you can go whichever direction you want. I mean, certainly no one is going to have an issue with a Paul Heyman speech. I guess my question is, Wade, do you expect a similar number of entrants as we saw like last year, where it was a bit of a smaller class? Because quite frankly, you could do like a Paul Heyman 45-minute speech and maybe your Warrior Award. I think most people would be pretty much happy with that after they've sat through SmackDown. I don't think we need like the 5 to 6 inductees for this Hall of Fame, but I'm curious how many more they add to this.
Well, when have they differed in the past from the sort of requisite 5 to 6?
I mean, there were years like we were getting into, like 4-hour Hall of Fame events just because of all the speeches and such. Like the numbers were getting pretty high. I feel last year they kind of toned it down a bit by numbers wise.
I'm expecting a similar amount just to live up to the expectations of a class. I think it's an interesting question to consider what might be the headliner this year.
I think it's going to be Paul, wouldn't you think?
So to me, it would be, and I would assume maybe to you and certainly everybody from Philadelphia, it would be, is Paul Heyman a manager, a big enough name to what they consider, a headliner might be.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like, even if you don't think that would be like, first of all, they're going to present him as, this guy that, led this strong underground alternative that created all of these stars. Like, it's all the different directions. I'll say that for the people who are like, what are you talking about? Paul Heyman as like, of course, this guy's a no-brainer for something like this. Under a Vince McMahon-led Hall of Fame, there is no way this guy is headlining a Hall of Fame class. I feel pretty strongly about. But
you think he's at least getting in?
I think in time, yeah, he probably would have gone in. I would have been really surprised if it was Vince McMahon with the be all end all of who goes in of headlining a Hall of Fame class with a Paul Heyman. I mean, look when Eric Bischoff went in a few years ago. Like, he was just another name on an endless list of inductees at the Thunderdome. So, but that's the other thing here is that you can essentially take a figure here. You're not selling tickets. It's, for essentially you're promoting this Hall of Fame for viewership. And Paul Heyman doing a speech on his career, I think will be really captivating for people.
Oh, certainly. Yeah. I still have my doubts about whether or not he would be like, the show closer. I just don't know how like, when have they ever had a non-wrestler close?
That's a good question. I don't know if they, off the top of my head.
And maybe Heyman would be an exception, just given Philadelphia, given the fact that Vince McMahon is no longer around. Maybe they choose to do things certainly.
It's the first guy they're announcing. I think most are going to assume this is the headliner for it. At least is going to get the big chance to have the lengthier speech. But yeah, your following years, it was Ray last year, Taker before that.
But if not Heyman, who else is out there that could headline?
It's not a long list. Like, Batista is out there. He was announced that year, but then never went in after the pandemic. And then you're getting into like your Cenas.
Are there any other ECW sort of originals that are out there that would qualify for a spot like that?
Who's not in that? The Dudleys are in. RVD's in,
but he's already in.
Yeah, RVD's in.
Wow,
he went in a few years ago.
I might have
like, you could do your Dreamer. Like, Taz is one that probably not while you're talking AEW. Although after tonight, who knows? Maybe it'll be all AEW talent. If Michael Cole and Pat McAfee are in charge of the class.
Yeah. Well, another. Throw your suggestions out there, chat room, and in the comments. But another interesting.
I really don't see a whole kind of ECW theme to this.
Right.
You're talking like your Sandmans and.
DeAndre obviously brings up here Bray Wyatt, who I think very likely
they might.
might get some sort of recognition, either, I mean, maybe in the form of a Hall of Fame induction or something otherwise. Who do you think inducts Paul Heyman?
CM Punk, probably.
Interesting.
Unless you want to keep,
That's a
unless they
good
want to
role.
keep it with Reigns, and keep it with like the bloodline theme. But I can see it being CM Punk.
Yeah, Punk, I think would be obviously a great speech and a draw in and of itself, and it would be
Gives him a
probably
big thing for Hall of Fame weekend,
yeah.
something to be involved with. Last year it was the first year they did lean into making the Hall of Fame an extension of the storyline with Ray and Dominic. I don't think anybody really wants to see that with Heyman, where you're keeping it to like he's playing the wink wink like advocate or whatever it is, the wise man of the bloodline.
Right.
I think you can do this clean break where it's CM Punk and Paul Heyman just as themselves doing your like that. To me is, quite frankly, if you're doing a Punk speech and a Heyman speech, sure, you do your Warrior Award, you're like one or two others. That's good. Like I think like let them have their speech time, and like we learned from Sting on Sunday, people want to hear from these people. We don't need to be racing through a Heyman speech because, we're at the end of the night and we've gone through 5 or 6 speeches already.
Sure.
So I prefer just a smaller class. The Hall of Fame to me, it doesn't need to be this marathon event. It's for an audience that's already sat through 2 hours of SmackDown. Most are probably going to 1, if not 2 WWE shows the very next day. I mean, this should be a 90-minute event.
I think this would replace SmackDown, actually. I mean, give me your big segments, sure, but like for the most part, I mean, the go home show to WrestleMania doesn't really give you a whole lot, beyond like recaps and video packages. Why don't you just put some of these speeches on TV?
I mean, if you're gonna let guys go out there and talk for 40 minutes, you can certainly do the Hall of Fame on and not worry about your numbers going down.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I guess this is not the year for The Rock to go. I think honestly, if the Rock's not in it, is he?
No.
You are not the Hall of Fame historian, are you?
If you don't know, then I certainly don't
can't
know.
keep track of who's in this WWE Hall of Fame or not. I'm looking at last year. It was only Ray, Great Muta, Stacy Keibler, Andy Kaufman, and Tim White. So there were 5 last year that they inducted.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess we've got to have our celebrity as well.
Mm-hmm.
Art Donovan.
Got my vote.
Okay.